Hey, Fumblers, welcome back. Noelle and I took a break last week, just everything going on in LA with the fires. We didn't really feel up for recording an episode, but thank you to everyone who has reached out and thinking of us and thinking of our city. We are doing well where we're located, luckily not too impacted. Still, in our homes, which we know we're very lucky. A lot of people have lost everything. And so our hearts are with our city right now. We are, of course, very thankful to the first responders, all the firefighters, and all the volunteers and everyone who's coming out and donating everything, donating their time, their clothes, their money to this cause. It's really great to see how much the city has come together. It's like in the darkest times, we're also uplifted by all the people that really show up. So it's been a very sad time in our city, but again, we know that you guys don't tune in to Girls Don't Fumble to talk about the sad things. We're here to be also an uplifting podcast and hopefully be a break from all of that. So we're excited to bring the show back to you guys this week, and we have a ton to discuss. We have the wild card weekend to catch up on last weekend, and then also divisional round is coming up this weekend. We have pop culture stories. We have everything. Noelle, where should we begin?
Let's start with all of those teams that have been eliminated. Now, as you mentioned, we had such a great set of games during the wild card round. Now there's been a total of 6 teams from the playoffs that have been eliminated, and that is the Broncos, the Chargers, the Steelers, the Packers, the Vikings, and the Buccaneers. They have all packed their bags and are now shipping off, heading to Cancun. So we'll discuss a little bit more on how those teams performed. Obviously, not up to standards if they're not still
Not well.
But we hope that you have a great time in Cancun.
And better luck next season, especially if you are a Chargers player.
Yeah, I mean, at least you
The
guys made
rebuild
it to
year.
the playoffs. A lot of teams didn't, including my Bengals. So,
I know.
like you give your fans like one round of hope, like better than most teams. So.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was sad to see the Chargers lose against the Texans because I actually thought they could have beat the Texans, but I was like, they were going to lose eventually. It's better I don't get too hopeful during this time. It is a rebuild year. We will be back. The Harbaugh era is just getting started. So please, boys, enjoy a pina colada in Cancun. I hope Coach Harbaugh takes some much needed time off, and we will see you guys in the fall. But
Can't wait.
football must go on. We do have some exciting little news, pop culture stories before we get into all the football talk. So, one big story that I was personally very excited about as a Bravo fan is that Summer House and Giggly Squad star Paige Desorbo was at an Eagles game last Sunday with a new mystery man. But of course, the internet sleuths are here. We found out who the man is, or who everyone thinks he is.
Yeah.
This, of course, is Joe D'Amelio, VP of Clutch Sports. No relation, as I'm aware, to the actual D'Amelio sisters. I think he's just a sports guy. And this, of course, comes only a couple weeks after her split with Craig, and they were together for a few years, dating very seriously. I love them together. It was really sad when they broke up. But of course, Paige, she's going to be iconic, and she's not going to waste any time getting back out there. This was such a fun outing. Paige has been very candid about not being a sports girl. So I think already people were alerted to the fact that she was at the game when she posted on her Instagram story wearing a Kristen Juszczyk off-season jacket supporting the Eagles. And her line is officially out. Her jackets are so cute. She looks so stunning. I was like, maybe we do have to spend $300 and get a jacket. So this is already so Paige that she's having such a fashionista moment for something that she literally has no stake in. And then she posts at the game. And so, of course, fans are going crazy. They're zooming in on her. They're posting all these videos like, who is this man, trying to figure out what's going on. And there was so much chatter on the internet. And I love that she is not holding back from responding to any of it. There was a video of her at the game, or just like maybe people reacting about it. And she commented on the video and said, I'm going to be outside a lot. Get used to it. Meaning, I'm going to be dating. I'm going to be playing the field. You're going to see me out. This isn't going to be the last time that this sort of news cycle is happening. So get used to it. Buckle up. We have a single era for Paige Desorbo. It's going to be so exciting. She also was going off on Giggly Squad in today, Wednesday's episode with Hannah, and saying that she was getting all this hate for people saying she's not a true New Yorker because she was repping Philly and the Eagles.
Yeah.
And she was literally like, I don't give a fuck about sports. Like, of course, she's like, my friend sent me a cute jacket. I'm going to wear it. If this man asks her on a date to the game, she's going to go. Like, Paige is not here to be like, oh, I'm a New York fan. I would never wear a jersey from another team. Like, she is just iconic. She is just out here. She is funny. She's going to be doing the most. And if she, I mean, I want her to date around. I'm excited for this, but I'm also like, I want her to like stay at NFL games because I feel like it's just so exciting and I love Paige.
Yeah.
So I don't know, Noelle, do you think that this could potentially be something that turns into anything? Could we see her with a player perhaps? Like, what do we think Paige Desorbo and her sports girly era could bring?
Well, number one, I love seeing that Paige is back on the streets and that she's single Paige, although I was a big fan of her and Craig. This is a new era for her. I don't know much about this guy. When I did a little bit of research, I think I saw that he used to date. He had some connections with someone from the Real Housewives.
Oh,
Maybe
wow.
his
So he
ex.
loves Bravo. Interesting.
Yes. And maybe I read that wrong, but he just broke up with his ex. I think that they were engaged back in November. So a lot of fans were saying that it was like very soon after this all happened, that now he's being seen out with Paige. And just knowing that she's basically the epitome of like an anti-sports girl.
Yeah.
I think that it is very possible that she will just be going for the vibes. But do I think that that number one, this relationship will last? Again, like, I don't know. I don't know much about this guy, but my gut is telling me probably not. Maybe we'll see them around out and about a few more times, but I don't know if this is like end game for her or someone that she will see long term.
Could also be a friend. Like if we get invited to go to a box at a game and I can wear a cute outfit and
we'll
like
never say no to that. I'm sorry.
Anyone can invite me and I'm saying yes.
And I'm getting an off-season jacket. Like,
yeah, please.
That retails at $300 plus. Like, I will be taking it.
Thank you.
Yes. So I do think like she's just going to be having fun. I don't know if this is going to be someone that she'll date long term, but it's fun. It's like a fun story that we're seeing her out and about, especially knowing that she is just like, I feel like she's talked about icks and talked about like football and just sports specifically. So it was definitely like a crossover that we never expected, but we all like wanted and needed.
Oh my God, one of my favorite videos of her and Giggly Squad all time is when she said it's an ick to win the Super Bowl because like don't be the best. Like that's embarrassing. And I was like, that is so fucking funny. Like this is why I love Paige. She's so genuinely hilarious and like doesn't care about being like anti things that people care about. Like she's just like, ew, like don't win the Super Bowl. Like don't beat all the other men. Like that's just like, that's just gross. And I'm like, honestly true. Like, why are you trying so hard? Like maybe let someone else have it. Like you can be second best. So I really hope that was her manifesting that she'll be at the Super Bowl too. And that maybe we'll bump shoulders with her. You never know.
We'd love to. Come on over to LA, Paige and Hannah. And all
we'll
of
take you all.
We'll take you all. Go on over. We'll show you our box at SoFi.
Absolutely. We'll have them on the pod.
Yeah, we'd love that. In other news, and speaking of, I know that this was like kind of a love story, but this is like an actual love story coming to life. We wanted to say a big congratulations to Patrick Mahomes and Brittany Mahomes. They welcomed baby number 3 over the bye weekend. I think it was last week.
Perfect timing.
So, perfect timing. And as you know, the Chiefs are the first seed, and they've basically not been playing for almost 2 weeks, maybe even more than that. So they're very well rested. Maybe not Patrick since he just had a baby. And this is number 3 for them. The baby's name is Golden Ray Mahomes. I think that's like such a sweet name. I love anything with Ray in it. As like a middle name. I feel like it ties pretty well together. And we kind of learned about this after Brittany Mahomes. She posted it on her IG story, kind of revealing what baby number 3, what her name was going to be. So this is a little bit of a newer story, but it's really funny because now that the Chiefs have been well into practice, prepping for their game this upcoming weekend, Patrick was interviewed and they were just asking like, hey, congratulations. Like, how does it feel to be, a father of three now. How are you balancing it all? And he had like such a casual response. It was like, yeah, it was really cool. Like Brittany crushed it. It was really
Oh
cool.
my
Like
God.
while we were in the hospital, she let us watch the football game while it was on TV. Brittany was really kind to let us do that. And I think when he said us, I'm assuming it was his other kids.
Hmm.
Their other kids are Sterling and Bronze. So I feel like at this point, he's very well aware that like he is the football player and the husband. Meanwhile, Brittany kind of does it all.
Hmm.
But the way he kind of talked about it was just like so casual. He's like, yeah, she crushed it. Supportive, but also very laid back, which was just like a funny response. He just kept saying, yeah, it was cool. Yeah, it was cool. Like,
You know what's so funny is like as you're describing that, and I saw that he said they were watching the playoffs in the hospital. I'm like, so many men and so many sports fans are going to see that video and they're going to be like, oh, like Brittany's so cool. Like, see, like, like this is how I want to be. This is like wifey goals. This is like, yeah, of course I can have football on in the delivery room. Like, no, shutting that down. No other men are allowed to do
shut
this.
it
This is
down.
Patrick Mahomes. He is the biggest face of the NFL. He is making so much money. This is a period in his life where he has to be so dedicated to this. And I
Yeah.
just know these men are going to see that video and be like, that's how I want to be as a dad. Like, I want to have sports on in the delivery room. And like, yeah, she crushed it. I'm like, this is a
Nope.
PSA to
No,
any
no,
men
no.
listening. Do not do that. Do
No.
not, you are watching what you're expecting baby mama wants to be watching. And you are not, unless you're going out to go be the quarterback of a team that has won the last two Super Bowls this
Yes.
upcoming weekend. No, no one else. That's not for you. That's
Yes.
just for Patrick. We're
Let her
very happy for
watch,
yeah.
let her watch Love Island All Stars
Hmm.
and have that sushi order ready on
Oh,
speed dial
get
once
that
she
sugar
has that
fish.
baby. Yes.
Yep. Yeah, PSA to
Have
all men,
those
don't do that.
unless she's a sports girl and wants to watch it herself, but
Whatever she wants to watch, go.
whatever she wants.
I'm so worried about this example being set. No
But
more she crushed it. Yeah.
it's Pat, and he lives a completely different life than us. So
1000.
he gets a pass. And from Brittany's eyes, she's cool with it too. So congratulations to them. We're
Yep.
super stoked for them. I wonder if baby number 4 or 5 is on the way, or if they're done at number 3. I can't even imagine what having 3 children is like while
Oh
you're
my
in the
gosh.
NFL.
I
So
know.
props to them for being able to balance it all and really like leaning into their not their roles, but like,
No, I know
she's
what you mean. It's all hands on deck in that
yeah,
family at all times. And it's
yeah,
really cool to see like how Brittany is able to be so supportive and at all the games at the same time. Like I can't even imagine how hard it is being like a mother of that many kids. And
yeah, exactly.
Patrick too, having that demanding of a schedule and that much pressure put on him by so many people and still being able to like be a dad.
Yeah, be there
They're
for
doing
them.
the most. So excited for them in the off season. I will say this birth of the baby, not to always bring it back to the NFL script, but of course it ties into is the NFL scripted because Patrick was in an interview maybe a week and a half ago, is like, they're like, what are your plans for the bye week? And he was like, well, like, I was really trying to get this bye week because this is when Brittany wanted to have her baby. And so I didn't want, her to have to be in the delivery room and like he's at a game and it's like, you can't do both. So they were saying like he has been aiming for this all season. He's been working hard to get the bye so he could be there for Brittany to have the baby exactly now. And so it's just like, of course,
Of
that's how it worked
course.
out. Of course, that was the timing. He got the bye and she did like, because births, like as we know, it's like they could kind of
They're
happen within
so
like a few weeks.
unexpected.
Like they could
Yeah,
be a week late, they could be 2 weeks early. Like you never know. So the fact that it fell perfectly right in the middle of his bye week is like, yeah,
of
the
course.
baby
As it
read the
was
script.
written.
As it was written, as the scripts were passed out, Patrick Mahomes' brand new father is going to be ready to face the Texans coming
Yeah.
up this Saturday. Let's just go straight into the game. Let's
Yeah.
talk about what we're doing. So, the Chiefs, they are again coming off this bye, coming off the birth of Patrick Mahomes' third child. They have clinched the ninth consecutive AFC West title. It's as a Chargers fan and being in the AFC West, it is no fun being in this a division where a team wins every single time. But like you have to give the Chiefs their flowers. They are that good. And this season, not only have they only lost 2 games, they're also undefeated at home. So their fans at Arrowhead have not seen a loss at home in a very long time. They are the 8.5 point favorite over the Texans. So, of course, people are thinking the Chiefs are going to continue doing what they do best, which is not make mistakes, continue to just play really strong football under Andy Reid, and the Texans are just the next step to that. I will say, I'm not here to count out the Texans. I think even last week, a lot of people counted them out against the Chargers. There were even quotes in the media saying the Chargers have a bye week playing the Texans. Like, this is the Chargers bye. And the Texans were like, yeah, what bye? They're out of the playoffs now because of us. And we dominated them. We demolished them. The Chargers played horribly. The Texans not only defeated the Chargers, but they caused Justin Herbert, Mr. Accuracy quarterback, who only threw 3 interceptions all year, only one on the road, 4 interceptions in one game. So that Texans defense, they are fired up, they are hungry, and they played really well when it matters most. And it's funny just because like the Chiefs are such a dominant team, and it's so crazy to do what they've done already is to win 2 Super Bowls in a row. But when I was talking about this game, I was like, it seems like the Chiefs would be maybe like the most favorable team to play of the teams we have remaining, just because the other teams are so strong and the Chiefs seem to kind of just be getting by the skin of their teeth. So
Yeah.
you never know. I'm not willing to go as far as putting the Texans as who I think is going to win, but
Mm.
I mean, I just don't know. The Chiefs always win, but I feel like the Texans surprised me last week. They could do it again.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that the Chiefs are going to come home with the win. We know that guys like Tank Bell are now on injured reserve, but like they still have so many other guys like Joe Mixon who can run the ball. I think it's going to be a competitive game, but knowing how the last minute of every Chiefs game ends, I feel like this is exactly like, again, like as it was written, how it will be, especially knowing that they just had their bye. They're very well rested. Mahomes is playing for his 3 kids and his wife. Like there is a lot at stake, and I'm sure all of them are just so hungry for that three-peat that like nothing, they won't let anything get in the way. And knowing that the Texans have had like, you know, we're still trying to figure out what their identity is, if you will, but like they did great against the Chargers. I just know that Taylor Swift voodoo is just going to be back, and it's going to come with vengeance all throughout the playoffs, unfortunately. So
I know.
I do hope it will be competitive though, because I do love CJ Stroud and Joe Mixon was obviously from the Bengals, and they have a lot of star players where they can definitely make it work, but time will only tell after this week.
I know. I think still Chiefs all the way, like you said, that Tay Voodoo in the house. I'm really excited to see her. I feel like we haven't seen her at a game in a while. I'm really excited to see her outfits.
Woo!
I just love feeling her presence at those games. She's so fun. I want to see who she brings. Like, what posse does she have?
Do you think that
so
she's
fun.
do you think she's gonna wear an off-season jacket?
I hope so, but it's also like she already wore like a Kristen Juszczyk original, and like that's really what catapulted Kristen's career. So it's like,
that's true.
I don't know if she feels the need to do that again, because it's like Kristen doesn't need it anymore. Like, okay, like I don't know if Taylor's going to be wearing the same jackets that like we could buy on retail.
Yeah.
Not that she thinks she's above it, but
yeah, she kind of was like the spearhead of it all.
Like she wore off season before off season was even a brand.
Yeah. She started it, really.
She did, yeah. It wasn't even Kristen.
I mean, unless she coordinated with Kristen and had some kind of like very custom Travis Kelce, I don't know, like puffer. But
I mean, now's the time. It's going to be cold in Kansas City. Might as well bring out the puffer.
Exactly.
We'll see. If she's wearing it, we'll be
watching it. Should we discuss the other first seed on the NFC side?
Yes.
Okay.
We have.
Now, this is going to be a very highly anticipated game. We have the Lions and the Commanders, who, if you guys saw the game last week with the Commanders versus the Buccaneers, it was 23-20. And I want to say for not every single, but over 5 to 6 games of the Commanders throughout this season, all of their games have ended in some kind of like game-defying moment that led them to a win. And so they're coming in hot and heavy. I believe that they've won their last like what is it, 4 or 5 games. Meanwhile, on the Lions side, they have been hot all season. They are 8-0 away, and at home they're 7-2. Same with the Commanders, but the Lions do have the advantage here because they have been resting. They're playing at home, and the fans are so rowdy. They've never ever won a Super Bowl before. And I feel like of all years, like everything has come together for the Lions. And I just feel like I hope that this is their year. As great as Jaden has been doing, I feel like he can wait,
He
like
can
you're a
wait for
rookie,
sure.
like let's just pump the brakes. You're doing so good, King, but like this is the Lions' time to shine. I know that we're like big Lions fans here on the pod.
Mhm.
Not only do the Lions have the first seed, they are divisional winners back to back, and coming they're coming in with vengeance into this game.
Mhm.
And they have, I like to call this game the Battle of the Dans. Both of their
Love.
head coaches are Dan Campbell, who is the head coach of the Lions, and Dan Quinn, who's the head coach of the Commanders. Both are very aggressive when it
Mhm.
comes to football. And something that has just been a very fun light throughout the season has been seeing Dan Campbell and his like post game celebration speeches
Mhm.
after a win. And this last one in the wild card, or sorry, this was maybe their last game that they played, but he says, "You guys look like you remember who the fuck you are," and there everybody starts going, "Yeah!" Like he's just known for coming in just like he's like that tough love coach, but
Yeah,
it works for the dynamic of this team.
it's so
Meanwhile,
good.
it's so good. And meanwhile, you have Dan Quinn, where I do think that he's aggressive. I've seen like a few celebrations in the locker room, but he's not as like "Rrr," as Dan Campbell is, but he still is very aggressive on the field. Something that I'm going to be looking out for both of these head coaches. They both love to blitz the quarterback. Both
Hmm.
the Lions and the Commanders are the second and fifth most in the league for blitzing, for having the highest blitz percentage.
Interesting.
So both, I wonder who's going to be shaken up more, Jared Goff or Jaden Daniels.
Hmm.
But that kind of brings me to Jaden Daniels because we know that he is a running quarterback. He's behind Jackson in total rushing yards as a quarterback for the season.
It's
I think
huge.
he's close to 1,000, not quite there yet, but I know that Dan Campbell has made a few comments about how they need to control Jaden Daniels because he will be a problem. So that is going to be like something that the Lions will help them to win this game is how can they stop Jaden. Now they have a lot of other guys on their offense that are going to be great. They have Terry McLaurin, Austin Eckler. Who else do we have? A lot of other guys, but I feel like Jaden Daniels is going to be the one that really brings it all home. Meanwhile, on the offensive side for the Lions, I mean, everybody who played fantasy this year, if you had
Hmm.
anybody on offense on the Lions, like you won at least games. I hope you did, but they will all go in early rounds next summer during the fantasy football drafts.
Hmm.
I can see it now, but you have guys like Jared Goff, Amon-Ra St. Brown, David Montgomery, who's been out a few games and
Hmm.
he was out with an injury. He's coming back in. Jameer Gibbs, Sam Laporta, like Jameson Williams, like this is the complete team that
Stacked.
will
Yeah.
win. At least in my mind, I swear, I hope this actually happens because they are so dynamic in ways that they can find ways to win. And they're going to be giving you kind of like some of those explosive plays. But it's going to be a really good matchup because both have top five offenses this
Hmm.
season. It's just really going to be who can, um, you know, put out the weapons first and most consistently, whether that be Jaden Daniels or really anybody on the
Hmm.
offense uh, for the Lions. So very excited for this. And, you know, I if I had to go with a team, it's going to be the Lions. Brooke,
Hmm.
who do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. I agreed with what you said on this has been an absolute historic season for Jaden Daniels. I mean, he gave the Commanders their first playoff win in 20 years as a rookie, and that is just so uncalled or unheard of. It's a win on the road. And it's like, okay, this is an amazing start to his career. This is only the beginning. He's the second overall draft pick. The Bears, passed him up to get Caleb Williams, and he has just shown everyone he's probably going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Like he's good. He
Hmm.
is good. If he loses this game, no one's upset. The Lions, as you mentioned, their team is so stacked, their roster, and also their coaches. I feel like this is a season where we were all watching the Lions and falling in love with their story last season of just how they spent so many years not doing great. Dan Campbell takes over as the head coach. They still aren't winning, and then he's finally able to turn this team around. And it's just like this comeback story of this team that they've just achieved so much together and they're all in it together. And he's such an intense coach, like bite him off at the kneecaps. So like, I just love the guy. And not only are we, faced with they came up short last year. So this year they had a lot of unfinished business. Not only will we maybe not have the same roster next year, it's also very
Hmm.
likely that we will not have the same offensive and defensive coordinators next year. So Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, even last year was already a hot candidate for head coaching jobs. And everyone who is an offensive or defensive coordinator, your ultimate goal is to get promoted into that head coaching position and be in full control of a team. So it's big that Ben Johnson last year was being interviewed by a lot of teams. And he ultimately decided, I am going to stay with the Lions at least for one more season because I want to win with this team. You
Hmm.
also have Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator, and he is in high demand as well. They were both taking interviews last year. Ironically, both of the Commanders were flying out to interview both Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson for the Commanders head coach roles.
Hmm.
They ended up only interviewing Aaron Glenn because Ben Johnson canceled on them and was basically like, I'm staying with my boys. So they were like, fine, we're already out here. We'll interview the other guy we probably didn't want as much. And then a few days later, they said, okay, Dan Quinn is our head coach. So that's a little bit of tea. Like, I wonder if they have any like commander secrets from their time in the interview room. But it's just, I'm going with the Lions from my heart and from my head of just like, it's a stacked team, amazing coaching staff. They came up short last year, but I think they're even stronger, even hungrier for it this year. And I also just like, from the bottom of my heart, like I really want a Lions Super Bowl. Like we
Yeah.
deserve it. NFL fans deserve it. The Lions fans definitely deserve it. And this is going to be a huge game.
Yeah, 100%. And I do think that Commanders will get there at some point. I feel like a lot of people didn't have such high expectations for the Commanders, but
Mhm.
seeing how well that they've done, like this is only the beginning. This is just the start of their story. And like you mentioned, they have a lot of they've had to rebuild from coaching positions as well as with the quarterbacks and bringing in guys from free agency like Austin Eckler. And I feel like this, like, let's wait just a little bit longer.
Hey,
Your time will come. Your
get
time
them
will
next
come.
season is like the best comeback or the best, like, yeah, their most improved award for them this season. Like
Yes,
they've already done so
exactly.
much. We can
Exactly.
wait for their big moments the next year.
And honestly, if they come out with a win, then it's going to be a big problem for the NFC in the future. Like he
Oh
is
my
not Jaden
gosh.
Daniels is not playing like a rookie, and
No,
we're excited to see him continue to grow as an
he's so good.
LSU alum.
A fellow LSU alum, our classmate. All right, let's go through the last two games. I know we are going to have to hop off here soon, but going over to the Sunday schedule, we have the Rams flying out to take on the Eagles. It's going to be a snow game, which we love to see. It's always so fun seeing these players get around in their little snow globes. I am concerned for the Rams because, like us LA
Mm.
girlies, like we are not equipped for playing in the snow. So that's definitely an element to keep in mind here. The Rams really, really impressed me on Monday night with their huge dominating win over the Vikings in Arizona. As we mentioned, this has just been like an awful week to be a resident of Los Angeles and seeing our city just burn like this.
Yeah.
So they came in repping LAFD at the game. They were originally supposed to have it as a home game in SoFi, but due to air conditions, they were no longer able to do that. They had to move the game to Arizona, which a lot of people are saying, okay, it's no longer a home game. Like Vikings fans, let's ride to Arizona, let's do it. But they had like at least like 40 or 50 buses just taking fans out to that drive in Arizona. They
That's
wanted
so
to make
awesome.
sure, I know it's so cool, like making sure that fans were out there for the games. They knew they had to win this one for their city. And I feel like they just like, and Sean McVay is such a great coach too. Like, I feel like they really harnessed everything that I wanted the Chargers to harness of our city being in crisis. The Chargers didn't do it, but I was like, the Rams, this is what I'm talking about. Like, you have something so meaningful to play for, and they did it, and they beat the Vikings. No one expected them to. So that was
Totally.
huge, and they played amazing on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. I will say the Rams are full of surprises. Their season has been so up and down. Like they lost to the Bears, but then beat the Bills. Like you never know what you're going to expect with this Rams team.
Yeah.
And so truly anything can happen. I still do think the Eagles are going to give them a big run for their money. And as much as like we're all still reeling from the fires here and LA Pride, I don't know how much that can carry on beyond just that initial week of everyone's fired up and going to Arizona. Now we're flying out to the snow. We're playing the Eagles, who defeated the Packers. It was a little bit closer of a game, but the Eagles played extremely well. AJ Brown even found time to read on the sidelines. People are like, oh, is he that checked out of the game? Like, what's going on? Saquon Barkley is obviously a huge threat. The last time that these two teams met back in November, the Eagles defeated the Rams 37-20. Saquon Barkley scored 2 touchdowns, and currently I think he rushed for almost 300 yards that game. Like it was just crazy, crazy. So we will see if the Rams have what it takes to stop Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, and the rest of the Eagles squad. But Noelle, who do you think? Who do you have in this game?
I do I do have the Eagles.
Hmm.
And at the same time, I do kind of want the Rams to win, especially seeing how well they showed up in Arizona during a time of literal crisis in LA.
Yeah.
It made me realize my allegiance overall in LA for football is leaning Chargers, definitely. But now that, at least for the playoffs, it's like we have to, I feel like I want to support LA a little bit more, even though
Hmm.
they defeated the Bengals in the Super Bowl a few years ago. But yeah, I mean, like, I do think that the Eagles have it. And even with the snow, that is going to be a factor for a lot of these players. Like, we are wimps when it comes to like cold weather. And when you throw snow involved, like,
Oh my God, yeah.
somebody is going to have their hands completely frozen or get frostbite. Like, it's bound to happen. And especially knowing how crazy the fans are
Hmm.
in that Eagle Stadium, they're going to be hyped the hell up.
Yep.
So yeah, I would be amazing to see a Rams win, but I think Jalen Hurts and all the boys there are just having such a great season that they're going to come out with the win if I had to guess.
I agree with you. You
Yeah.
can't really beat the Eagles in the snow at home with the type of season they're having,
Yeah,
but it'd
exactly.
be a miracle.
Well,
Okay, one game left.
speaking of snow games, we our last game is actually going to be the Bills versus the Ravens. Also a snow game because we are playing up in Buffalo. The Bills are currently the second seed, and their record right now is 13-4. They've won 11 of their last 13 games, so they are completely on a tear right now. Meanwhile, the Ravens are 12-5, and they are on a 5-game win streak. So when we look back on when they last played, which was very early on this season, the Ravens defeated the Bills 35-10, and it was
Hmm.
a blowout, if I'm going to be honest. I will say the Bills and the Ravens both have a little bit of a hot streak right now, but the Bills also like completely defeated the Broncos in the wild card round last week. I don't even remember what the score was. It was like 35 to 7,
It was
maybe
not close. Yeah.
30-7. It was a blowout, but I think one of the main things that we're going to be looking at is the snow exactly. because I don't know if you guys follow too much, but Lamar Jackson is not a fan of the snow. This man grew up in Florida. He went to school in Kentucky. Every time you see him on the sidelines or at games, even if it's like 60 degrees outside, he's in straight up a beanie, like completely clothed, and he does not like it one bit.
Relatable
So
king.
while in Buffalo during this game, the temperature is set to be in the single digits. And with the wind chill factor, everything involved, it's looking to be about like 6 degrees total. So this is going to be the coldest game Lamar has ever played. And looking at his record with in his last 10 coldest games, he's actually 8-10, so he's done pretty well. But the advantage that Josh Allen has here is he went to school in Wyoming. He plays in Buffalo. He's very familiar with snow games. He's played many before. So I am very curious how much that the snow is going to impact Lamar, because not only does he need to be stopped because he is the top quarterback that likes to rush around for the season, and just he's passed Michael Vick for highest rushing yards for a quarterback overall. So this man likes to run. Let's see if he gets stopped from that. The other person that I think will be a highlight of this game is if the Bills can also stop Derrick Henry. Now, we know that this man is also the brightest light of the Ravens so far. He, as you guys all know, was picked up in free agency this year, and what a tear he's had as well. Derrick Henry has rushed for, in any game where Derrick Henry has rushed for over 90 yards, the team is undefeated, 11-0.
Oh, wow.
So that is like my one stat of
That's not even that high for him. That feels very attainable for this weekend.
Exactly. And I believe in his last game in the playoffs for the wild card round, he rushed for 186 yards. Like,
Of course. Yep.
absolutely insane. They defeated the Steelers. I do think this is anyone's game here for both the Bills and the Ravens, but I do think it will be close, and we'll see how it all goes.
Yeah, we can't wait to see. It's the battle of the two MVP candidates. So it'll be very telling, to running quarterbacks, and we're excited to see who wins.
Love it.
Okay. We'll watch this weekend with you guys.
Can't wait.
Bye.